Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Reginald Broddie, and he is the president and CEO of Concerned Black Men of America. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I really appreciate it.
Your organization has quite a history. You've been in existence for over 40 years.
Over 40 years. We started in 1975 in Philadelphia, in the city of Philadelphia. We were actually founded by 5 police officers, high-ranking police officers at the time. And Stephanie, I tell the story often about the vision that these 5 officers had, and basically what they envisioned is actually happening in our communities now with a number of the police brutality and interaction with our young people. They started teaching our young people back in 1975, hands on the dashboard, show your ID, don't be confrontational. All the things that we're teaching our young people now that have all of a sudden, in some venues, is new and cutting edge, was taught back in 1975 and 76 and 77 and 78. So they saw this trend coming. And I'm pleased in a lot of different ways that while they set the tone for teaching our young people, somehow it got lost in the shuffle.
So that was my next question. How have things changed? You just explained what things were like then. How have things changed over the years? And we all know that over the last, let's just say, 5 to 10 years, the number of police brutality cases have just skyrocketed around the country. Where are we now? And off air, we were talking about the fact that whites grow up and they are led to believe that police officers are their friends, police officers are there to help you. In the black community, I personally believe that we have been traumatized as a result of the police brutality. We don't have that same idea when we see police patrolling our areas.
Well, and you're right. I think a lot has changed. I think as a result of programs like the Concerned Black Men starting in 1975 and a number of, I would say, the Black Panthers and a number of the kind of the cutting edge and leading black organizations were teaching our young people how to respond and what to do in certain situations. It created the community policing, and a number of our cities adopted that theory, and things got better. All of a sudden, like all things, in the I would say late 90s, I think right after the riots in Los Angeles, community policing took a backside. A lot of the leadership and the police chiefs thought it was giving up too much of their power, and so here we are. We are major components of policing communities. We've seen lives of our police officers being saved by a result of community policing. Community policing is nothing more than relationship building, having a relationship with the young people and the families in those communities. So when something go down, they got your back. Well, those days are long gone. Police are coming in, and a lot of our police officers are also fearful. So when we talk in terms of our young people being traumatized, I really believe a lot of our police officers are being traumatized. And think about this, Stephanie. You have traumatized police officers with firearms. So that creates a whole tension beyond something that we can comprehend by overnight. We need to understand it, study it, and put some resources behind it. But I think a large part of the answer is community policing. We used to think of, officer friendly back in the day. That's what you were referencing.
Yes.
When white folks, they see, this idea of officer friendly, walking the kids across the street and making sure that they got into school safely, and your doors didn't have to be locked because officer friendly was somewhere close and so forth and so on. But that's not reality. Our reality is different. If you can imagine being a father of a black child, or no matter if it's a son or a daughter, and you having to have a fundamental conversation about saving their lives, being saved based on certain things that they do and certain things that they don't do. That's different, Stephanie, from having a conversation with a child that says, "Here's you know what your responsibilities are in school. You know how you're raised. You know what you're supposed to be doing when you get home from school. Bum, bum, bum. Versus this conversation, son, please, whatever you do, don't incite any. Don't get a police officer excited. If he pull you over, do these things. We want you to come home safely. So so when in turn, you're absolutely right. Our young people are traumatized because when they hear that speech from us as black parents, they're going out and having to interpret what's being said to them. And then some of our young people, based on levels of capacity, understand it, and some of them don't. But think about the young people who have, physical and mental issues, who can't retain that, and then they're in a confrontation, and then it just escalates and escalates and escalates.
Well, let's talk about the fact that your organization is called Concerned Black Men of America.
Yes.
In many parts of the country, and especially with this whole mentality that we're dealing with right now, there are people in other parts of the country who don't believe that there is an organization of concerned black men. Our president recently said that you people, meaning the African American community, you're living in hell. What do you feel about the fact this mentality that men like you don't exist?
Well, I think it's definitely it's funny to me because it starts with this idea that our name is Concerned Black Men, which automatically means we're mad, right? We're not mad, we're concerned. And not only are we concerned about what's going on in the black community, we're also concerned about what's going on in the white community. Because we fundamentally believe that what affects the part affects the whole. I'll give you an example. This opioid, right? This thing has taken a life of its own that has, in so many ways, are destroying the white community. If we really believe that by the white community being destroyed is not going to affect us, then we're our head in the sand. We need to come together to address this. I've said this, and I've said this over and over and over. We dealt with the crack epidemic, and before that, we dealt with the heroin epidemic. We know what it takes to clean this issue up and for folks to become healthy and clean and move forward. We know. I can't understand for the life of me why some of these agencies are not coming to us as in good faith and saying, we need your help. Our culture, and Stephanie, you know this, there's not a culture on this earth other than black folks who open their arms up to everyone. That has been our history. We will continue to do that. But we need to be asked, and we need to be respected, and we need to understand that what we're going to do is going to help you and transform not only the lives of the folks that don't look like us, but it also transform the lives of folks that do look like us.
You remember back in the late 70s and early 80s, I had two relatives, one relative on my mother's side, one relative on my father's side, died of heroin addiction the same year. Mm-hmm. It was powerful. And then that was followed by crack. Mm-hmm. I mean, so if there's a community that has suffered as a result of substance abuse, it is our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there was no system, mechanism, or legislation passed for folks who were dying, on the street. There was no police officer being trained with an antidote to save our lives. There was no antidote to save many of our kids who were addicted to crack and Love Boat and all those different things. We had to survive that crisis on our own, which speaks a lot about who we are as individuals. We're very resilient as black folks, and we understand that. And the more I think that's one of the things we teach our young people. The more we understand how powerful we are physically and mentally, a lot of things will change. But I think, from a drug perspective, we've overcome these things, and so we have the blueprint, and are willing to express and help with it.
Well, let's change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
I want to make sure we hit the fact that you all are involved in a digital literacy program. What exactly is that?
Well, it's a program. It's a technology program to meet our kids where they are. And what I mean by that is, it's a program that they help develop. It's not talking heads. Of like most programs, we have an adult standing up. Here's what we're going to do today. Here, da, da, da. It's a program where our young people. It has four components. It has an electoral process where our young people understand the leaders in their particular wards. It has a college readiness component where they'll go online and look at various colleges. They can visit colleges on this tablet and actually apply to colleges on this tablet. It has a component about their fitness. They can go online and look at various applications and choose an application to help for their fitness in the morning, push-ups, jumping jacks, different things like that. And then the last one is a social piece, which is very key to the development of their lives. And so the social piece has an opportunity for them to communicate with each other by use of the tablet, but communicate in a very high-level, forward-thinking process. What we're looking at is, and we're not saying computer labs are by the wayside. Computer labs will always be useful. But we understand by learning through our young people, the way to get through to them in technology and literacy is by way of moving. They have to move. Next week, they visit the city council. Before they go there, they will have done all of the homework, all of the research that they need for their councilmen, their ANC leaders, all of that. So when they go and talk with them, they're going in ready to ask very fundamental questions, but important questions that pertain to them. They'll work with our leadership, and those questions are directed at them. I was at a meeting the other day with them, and they were talking about the D.C. economy, right? And while one of the young people started talking about, asking us what the economy was, and we spoke to them about the economy, when we started talking about, we asked them what was their economy. They live in Brooklyn Manor, right? Where the average minimum income is less than $10,000 per family for a family of five, right? So when we start talking about economy, we don't oftentimes folks that don't look like us, they're already on how does my economy connect to the national economy? How does my economy connect to the city's economy? Well, we're teaching our young people, how do your family economy connect to the DC economy? And so that's going to be a couple of the questions that's going to be asked to their councilmen. How can we improve our individual economy within the city?
So have you presented this, or this is part of DC public schools? You're in the DC schools?
Yes, it was launched in DC. It was a national initiative that DC won the opportunity to present the program.
And what about Prince George's?
We're going to bring it here. We're going to get, this is a pilot, and we're going to get all the data. It's not something that we're doing just for to improve a community. We want this to be a national initiative. And so we're going to pull the data. And so for the next city, they'll have a full-scale manual of do's and don'ts. But it's something that we're very, very excited about.
And so it's already
underway. It started in Brooklyn Manor.
And it started this year, or
yes.
It started last year?
No, it started this week.
Wonderful.
Week, yeah. We had a national rollout yesterday on Channel 7. And as you know, in Ward 5, they have the lowest connectivity of internet and technology in the city.
Could you imagine going to school or having to do your homework or having to do things that deal with being involved with computers, with the digital age, and you don't have the resources you need? How far behind you end up being with that?
Yeah.
So there's a definite need.
It is, and I think, when we talk in terms of trauma, can you imagine knowing that you don't have the resources that maybe a young person sitting beside you do, and you don't know how to ask? And so we want to eliminate as much of the reason for the why, if you will, with the young people that we serve. And we're excited about the young people over there. I mean, they're planning a listening party. But I just found it fascinating to sit down and listen to them organize this listening CD party. And what they're going to do is they're going to select a local artist, young person, and they started talking about, are we going to select someone who may have vulgar language? And so this kids start talking and talking and talking. And said, why would we eliminate a group who talking use bad language and calling females this and where we can have an effect on them when they come here? We can ask them why, and would they be willing to change, and are they creative enough to change? See, what happens oftentimes is we complain, but we don't want to do anything about it. And I'm sitting there, Stephanie, amazed that these young people said, why would we eliminate them from the process when we can have an effect on them, a positive effect on them? I said, okay, now we're getting it. Now they understand. They understand. And so it's programs like, and this is all through the digital literacy, because they want to dissect the music. They want to have a clear understanding of what the music is for and why, and what the group is really all, what their personality and what are they trying to do.
In talking to these young people, what would you say is their major concern?
It's two things, and I hate to put it in these terms. The concerns for the boys are different than the concerns for the girls, and we'll talk a little bit later about our campaign, but we are now mentoring girls, all right, but the concerns are different. Our boys, the concern is this idea of allowing them to be who they are, right? That's why you see the pants hanging down, and that's why you see the different hairstyles and all this kind of stuff. They're looking at, they're searching for different things, but everything that they do is being criticized. And so they're looking for some level of identity, and they're looking for someone to validate it. Well, there's a lot to go with that, but we hear it over and over and over again. We know that there's a time frame, a beginning, a middle, and an end for everything. And what we're teaching our young boys is be who you are. But there are certain, before the beginning and the middle of it and the end of of a process, you got to understand some of that stuff got to be put by the wayside. And the more and more the young people, particularly the males, are understanding that process, the more and more they're starting to be successful. And so more of our mentors now have a clear understanding of that. Our girls are up against it. Our African-American girls and girls of color are being arrested and being incarcerated at a faster rate than boys have ever been. The data is out there, and no one wants to talk about it, Stephanie. Our girls are in crisis. Many of our young girls, when we talk in terms of gangs, some of the most notorious gangs are run by girls, right? No one's talking about it. Some of when we talk in terms of, in some of our communities, we have young ladies, 14, 15, 16, have children by the same guy, and they're hanging out as a group, and they have their babies, and they're pushing the strollers, and I'm not saying that there's anything fundamentally wrong with it, but there's something fundamentally interesting about it that speaks to these 3 or 4 girls putting a coalition together based on the common bond of one person, one guy being the father of all 3 babies, right? Where do we have a conversation about that? How do we make sure that those babies are taken care of? How do we make sure that those young ladies are taken care of? How do we make sure they get on track and so they can have a quality of life for themselves and their babies? That's not being talked about. So it's a number of different things. Now, I will tell you, in a survey that we did 4 years ago in reference to the girls, there was, and it was fascinating to us. Girls were telling us when there was back in the 80s, right, and these were their moms telling us this, there was the extension of the black male. A whole bunch of federal money came down. Rites of passage for black males, a whole bunch of money came down. Taking our boys to the mountains. And ultimately, bad behavior of boys was somehow rewarded by a lot of different things. Our girls, in retrospect, were sitting back, Stephanie, and saying, what about us? Including myself as a male. Girls, in my mind, have always figured it out. So we would say to the girls, you're fine. You always figure it out. You're at the same party that I'm at, but yet when it's time to turn your homework in, you turn your homework in, I got to use the excuse that I was hanging out. right? Girls figure it out. Now, women of color have always, our mothers, our grandmothers have always figured out how to make sure that we were fed and taken care of. Well, there comes a time, and our young ladies told us that hey, we get tired. And I think a lot of our young girls today are tired. They tired of seeing their moms in bad situations. We had a young lady talk about she wear Timberlands because she see her mother get beat up by her boyfriend every day, and she wear the Timberlands as a part of her body armor so he won't affect her. And
So what are you guys doing? What initiative do you have that's dealing with women at this point?
well, the first start is with now putting down this idea of I mean, I wouldn't say putting down, but eliminating the idea that we can't mentor girls. Black men can mentor girls. We can have a major impact. But we're also including professional women as a part of our organization, which has never been a part of the national organization either. But we're going to go into our schools and we're going to go into our communities. Brooklyn Manor is our kickoff. There's so many different issues in that community that we're going to address, not from a digital perspective. That's going to be a big part of it because not only the digital will help us kind of navigate, but we're going to be boots on the ground in that community doing some great work. And then we're going to take the data and move to the next and move to the next.
Before we run out of time, you guys are doing a golf tournament?
We have a golf tournament April 28th. It's a Saturday. The goal for that is to have 100% black businesses support the golf tournament. Ultimately, what we want to do is create a black business forum consisted of all of these businesses that participate in the golf tournament. Then we're going to have a great day of golf as well.
And also with having black businesses participate, you're promoting economic growth.
Absolutely,
for African
absolutely.
Americans.
And we're starting at a black golf course. A lot of folks don't realize that there's a black golf course in Upper Marlboro. And while we're playing all over, and I'm guilty. I play golf all over the state, but I very rarely play at Marlton. We need to support Marlton. It's a great layout, but while the course may not be the greatest, the only reason why it's not the greatest is because we don't support it. And so if we start supporting the African Americans, that course could be one of the top golf courses in the state of Maryland. But it's upon us to make that happen.
With the situation being as it is with our government, with this new administration, what do you think the future for groups like yours?
I think it's bright, and I will say this only because we have incited a movement of African Americans that speak to, in order for us to achieve our very fundamental goals, we have to take care of ourselves. We cannot expect anyone to take care of us. We have to raise our own money. We have to create our own foundations. We have to create our own economic engine in order to support the various chapters around the country.
And also, let's emphasize the fact that just because the group has the word black in it, that doesn't mean you're anti-white.
No. We're servicing so many Hispanic children. It's amazing, and we love them. But you're right. But that it's somehow when I first came on, that was one of the conversations about changing our name. No, we're not changing our name. Changing our name means we're giving up. No. Only name we would change is from Concerned Black Men National to Concerned Black Men of America. Because, Stephanie, we're all over this country. We're in Los Angeles. We're in North Carolina. We're in Philadelphia. We're in Prince George, right here in Prince George's County. We're in South Carolina. We're in Texas, 2 cities in Texas. And so we have an impact all over this country. And the country needs to know that we're doing these various things in our various communities. So it's a lot, but I think when it comes to the federal government, I spoke about a lot of money coming down for this and a lot of money coming down for that. Well, a lot of good work, was done with that money, but the real work is going to come when we support ourselves and reporting the data to ourselves. I know you're a health initiative. We need to start reporting the data that speak to the health issues within our communities. We really do. But we're going to do that by having investment. It's a difference in a donation versus an investment.
Yes.
When I invest in you, I want to know what the return is on that investment. A donation is I can just write it off and you get back to me if you will. So we want to start changing the language for our communities as well
And you
as
also
investing in CBM.
And you also are trying to recruit more young
Yes.
African American men who can speak.
And females, no doubt.
Yes, yes.
We want professional females to be a part of our organization. Stephanie, we're changing. It's a new day here. We celebrate every single day the accomplishments that our founders have accomplished and all of the members that we've had over the years. Now it's time for a new day. It's time for a change. We want to bring professional black women into this organization. We want to bring want to start impacting the lives of girls in this organization. And not only, in Hispanic families, but I will tell you too, as an organization who care about people, we will never turn our back. If we see a white kid that's in distress, we will help them like you can't believe. That's what we're all about.
And that's very good. Also, before we run out of time, mention one more time that you guys have this golf event coming up.
Yes, we have a golf event on April 28th. It's a Saturday at Marlton Golf Club. It's $100 per player, $400 per foursome, and we're gonna have a great time. We have a black-owned barbecue guy, Wegmans Barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so we're excited. We're just excited, like Chuck Wagon's Barbecue, I should say.
And what I want to do is I'm going to have you back to talk about Father's Day in a couple of months.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
It's been a pleasure. We've been talking to Reginald Broddie, and he is the president and CEO of Concerned Black Men of America. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. Have a great day.